welcome everyone. My name is Liz Rich, and I am the Acting Director of Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives at the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Montclair State University. And welcome to week 4 of our weekly Women Entrepreneurship Week. This week, we're excited to be talking with female founders who are supporting other female founders. And if you are receiving our updates, you saw that earlier this week we spoke with Jill Johnson of the Institute of Entrepreneurial Leadership and Women of Color Connecting, as well as Kimberly Weisel of Inc. Magazine and The Fundery, and Karen Kahn of iFund Women, and Karen is also our MSU Entrepreneur in Residence. But today we are so excited to be speaking with Valeria Aloe, creator of the Abundancia Consciente, or Conscious Abundance System. And starting this fall, just to note, Valeria will also be part of FCE&I's virtual mentorship series, where she will be holding virtual office hours to help mentor some of our student and community startups. So we're very excited about that partnership. And just a little housekeeping before we begin, this discussion is live. And we also have some live participants joining us today. We are recording this interview and we will be rebroadcasting it later on our @Feliciano Center YouTube channel. And for those of you who are joining us live, please make sure to stay on mute for the entirety of this conversation. And if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the chat feature, which is located at the bottom center of your screen. I will be monitoring the chat throughout our conversation, and I will surface any questions you guys have, so please make sure to use that feature. So without further ado, welcome Valeria.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, we're so excited. And I know you're gonna take us through a case study you developed for your system. But before we begin, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. So first off, I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur. Because you have an amazing story, right? You're this incredible trailblazer within your family, within your community, and also within the larger community of female entrepreneurs. So can you tell us a little bit about how you've arrived at this moment?
Yes, thank you, Liz. So I'm from Argentina, and I was born in a small rural town in the middle of the countryside in Argentina. And I was the first one in my family to go to college. My parents always supported the idea, but financially they couldn't accompany that. So I moved to Buenos Aires when I was 18 years old. I started to work full-time while attending college. I graduated with honors. I paid for my full education. And then I got married, came here to the US, and became the first one in my family, first to move out of the country, second to pursue a corporate career. No one had ever worked for a corporation in my family, and the first one to obtain a graduate degree. I have an MBA from Dartmouth. I graduated in 2004, and I'm now pursuing a master's in spiritual sciences. And also I'm the first one to open a business, the first female to open a business in my family. So in that sense, I have to say that I'm sure that many of you listening to this are also the first ones to achieve something that no one ever achieved around you in your family. And that's part of who I am, my story, who I became, and you will see part of the business that I opened is part of my DNA, overcoming obstacles and finding ways to achieve, even though I had no role models, no one around me that could guide me. So at some point, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just went for the opportunity. And becoming an entrepreneur was also part of that. It's mostly about finding the opportunity, right? That's why you're an entrepreneur. What's the opportunity that also gives you the flexibility, at least in my situation, the flexibility that I needed in my life? I became an entrepreneur around 10 years ago when I started my family. And my husband is also from Argentina. So everybody, all the extended family, the support network in Argentina and corporations did not give me the flexibility that I needed as a woman raising a family. So that's why I became an entrepreneur. And I have evolved over time in what I have been doing until this point that I launched and developed this system that I will be presenting today, Abundancia Consciente. But it's been a journey of self-discovery, of connecting with my purpose, what I I love to do what I'm here to do, essentially.
Mhm.
That was not a roadmap that showed up when I was growing up. I discovered it over time, and I just went through the doors that opened, and I accepted and took those opportunities.
That's amazing. You really are a trailblazer, and that's so inspirational. And you touched on something about obstacles. And before you begin, I really want to quickly touch on that a little bit more. So, I think that your ability to take risks and to pivot has been a huge part of your story. And I want to touch on that a little bit. First, with the risk that you mentioned a little bit about leaving your corporate career, which was a successful corporate career, in order to launch this business. And then the pivot that you took during COVID to create this system. So can you tell us really quickly about those, the risks that you took and the pivots that you made in order to arrive where you are today?
Yes, thank you. So there is a fallacy that we believe, that is that we have control on our lives, and we have absolutely no control on anything that happens in our lives, right? Life is unpredictable and it's uncomfortable, so we need to learn to navigate that. And that feels risky, that feels uncomfortable. But what I have done, and this is something that I realize now as an adult, that I have done since I was a kid, I had a method for achieving that I'm now conscious about. But growing up, it was mostly instinctual. It just happened, right? And it was to just have a picture in my mind about what I wanted to achieve, and to really believe that that was possible for me. So that was my method. So growing up, my parents were talking about, you have a potential to go to college. And they had no money to pay for my full education. So, but in my mind, I could see myself in college. I saw myself moving to a different city. I saw myself attending college, and I felt happy about it. I felt that that was possible for me. So as an adult, I realize now that we become more, I would say, conditioned by the world, and we lose that ability that is innate in us. And as an entrepreneur, you really need to have that vision and that confidence that that's something that is possible for you. And pivoting is part of life. Pivoting is a constant. Being uncomfortable is normal. Being uncomfortable is a signal that you are moving, that you are achieving something different and better. So being uncomfortable is okay. So whomever says that being uncomfortable is not good and is, has this negative connotation, that's not true. Being uncomfortable means you are growing. Those are the growing pains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So pivoting is part of being human. Pivoting is part of adjusting to the needs of the market. And if you pivot and if you feel uncomfortable and you ride that wave, you have more chances to succeed as a business owner.
Exactly. I think I've been reading a lot of places lately. If you are not comfortable, or you're not changing, or something about, that correlation between comfort and change is obviously there and a big part of what you're talking about. So I just want to remind people, if you do have questions while Valeria is taking us through her case study, please make sure to put those in the chat. But without further delay, let's get right into it. And you're going to take us through your case study titled Convert Your Purpose into a Business.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Perfect. So we're going to take a look into Abundancia Consciente. Abundancia Consciente was born in the pandemic, even though I had this idea for 20 years in my mind, and the pandemic gave me the opportunity to make it a reality. Abundancia Consciente is a bilingual online educational platform that supports women and minorities, particularly first and second generation Hispanic business owners who had no role models, so like me, to achieve greater success by working on their mindset. And here's the word mindset is key. This is a behavioral change system that through micro steps allows people to change the way they do things. And we have beliefs that get ingrained in our brains from 0 to around 18. And that's who we think we are. That's what we think is possible for us. So it's so important for immigrants and for children of immigrants to really understand that you can change your mindset and you can achieve a lot more than what you think. You can really work on your own beliefs. That's what Abundancia Consciente is about. Our areas of expertise, from resilience to focus and productivity, emotional intelligence, communication skills, and delivered through an on-demand 6-week class. This is fully online, fully on demand, with private coaching and custom-built live programs. So it's a platform that adjusts to the need of the person, of the client. I work with several organizations, and what I say that I do is diversity and inclusion from the bottom up. Because we have diversity and inclusion from the top down, right? These are the corporations, organizations who are setting goals for us, minority and women, who are creating opportunities, who now, have like numbers to achieve, opportunities to create, promotions to give. But unless we are self-empowered to embrace those opportunities, and most important, to stand up and ask for the opportunities, we are going to continue in the same place. The same thing goes for business owners, contracts with corporations, with the government, right? New clients. You need to be self-empowered. You need to find that power within you for you to embrace those opportunities. So I will cover how I took the steps to convert this idea, this purpose, into a business. I will start with the opportunity. And this is a picture that I love, because the picture that I'm sharing is the last class of entrepreneurs with whom I worked before the pandemic. And what I want to say here is that by serving this community with a business program, I discovered a market need. By just finding the highest good, going to serve them with no agenda. I was not expecting to, let me learn from them and see if I can create a business and make money. No, I was thinking about their needs. I spoke to them. I know all of them one by one. And not only these people that you see in the picture, a total of 400 people that I have worked with in the last 3 years, closely. Like I asked them questions. What do you need? Where are you stuck? How can we help you? Not only me, how can corporations help you? The government help you? So this dialogue initiated, moved me internally, right? As a Hispanic, it just, I would say, created this flame in me. And I became an advocate. And I became an advocate for every one of them, looking for opportunities for them, creating curriculums that would help them. And through those conversations, I understood and really proved that success is not an outer possibility. Success is an inner mindset. So everything you create in your life, everything you have in your life, you create from the inner to the outer. So by serving them, I really understood that there is a major need in our Hispanic population to realize that we have to self-empower and understand our inner world, thoughts, emotions, the actions, the choices that we make, our beliefs, to really change the outer. But I didn't stop there. I said, I'm going to do my research. I feel there is an idea here. I'm feeling that there is something to this. There is an opportunity to help our Hispanic community in a different way that no one is helping them right now. And I did not only proceed to do my micro research with all of these interviews and talking to people and really listening to them, but also the macro research. That means taking a look at the bigger picture. And I looked into many, many, many numbers. And I discovered that there is what I call the US Hispanic paradox. Why is there a paradox? Because we are a super powerful community. We are 51 million in the US, 18% of the population. We are projected to be 30% of the population in 2050. And today, our purchasing power is equivalent to the 8th largest world economy. So if the US Hispanics were its own country, we would be the 8th largest economy in the world. Talk about power, right? However, and here's the paradox, we make less money. A Latina professional in her career makes only 47% of what a white man makes, which is almost half. And that number has not changed at all in the last 40 years. So it's been, this gap has existed for the last 40 years. And looking into businesses, it takes a Hispanic business owner 4 years to achieve the same sales that a non-minority business makes in 1 year. So we make 25% of the sales that a non-minority entrepreneur makes in 1 year. And we face increased barriers to capital and to government and corporate contracts. So when I saw these numbers, I said, we are onto something here. It's not only Valeria talking to people, this is a major problem all across the US that has existed for at least 40 years. So then I validated with data that yes, there is a gap, there is an opportunity. And then I went deeper into understanding them. Deep, deep, deep. Number one, what is their pain? And here you need to, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to care so much for people to understand, to really understand the pain they are going through, that it feels that is your pain. So if you do not feel the frustration, the pain, and anything else your target market is feeling right now, is because you have not connected with them enough. And why do you need to understand their pain? Because you want to be a painkiller for them. You want to understand them so deeply, so closely, as if they were a family member, and that your solution will be solving a big problem that they have and that they will be willing to pay for. And please let me know in the chat if there are any questions. So here the important point is you need to define your niche. A lot of entrepreneurs that I've been working with through these programs that I mentioned that I was putting together for businesses for the last 4 years, I was asking them, what's your target? And they were saying, women. That's too broad. You know, something that we need to realize as business owners is that we do not need to appeal to everybody, because that dilutes our message, dilutes our marketing, and dilutes our budget. What we need to understand is we need 5, 10, 100, 200, 300 clients. You don't need 1 million clients, right? Or maybe if you're, depends on your price point, right? But most probably you do not need all women in the US to be in your target market. So be super specific. As I said before with Abundancia Consciente, the way that it started is Hispanic business owners who are first or second generation, right? Particularly women. That's my target. Then it expanded a little bit. That's natural, but you need to start very, very narrow. And then you need to understand yourself. You need to ask yourself, why me? Where am I an expert? And here I found by working with business owners that a lot of them, particularly those in their 40s and 50s, were not even talking about their past. I was asking them, what's your journey? What took you here? What expertise do you have that now brings you to being an entrepreneur? And unless I asked, that was not something that showed up in conversations we had. So it was like people put in a drawer their past as if that was not a journey into their present. And that really is a huge asset that you have, because your past is your credibility. So you need to ask yourself, what knowledge and experiences do I have that others may not have? What makes me me, right? When I talked about my journey, now I use my own experience since I was a kid to help others that are going through the same path. And that gives me credibility because I know what I'm talking about. I had that pain, I had those experiences, I went through those hurdles. So I connect at a deeper level with people, and they really believe that I have a solution for their pain, because that deeper connection takes place. And finally, ask yourself, how can I make a difference? And this is all about serving. Serving your community, serving the planet, serving the world. How can I leave the community better than what I found it, right? It's not about you. Being an entrepreneur is not about you. If you want to be successful, it's about them. It's about creating a difference in somebody's life. And then another step that I took after that was, what is unique about your product or service? And this is something that many entrepreneurs overlook. So they miss this part. And this is being detailed. This is knowing your audience, yourself, and your product really, really well. And this is an asset because the most unique your product is, the higher the barriers to entry are. So people cannot copy you or your idea so easily. So look into your competition and understand what makes me, what makes my product just unique. In the case of Abundancia Consciente, it's a behavioral change system. So it's not only a platform, you will change your behavior. It uses immediate micro steps. It's not information, you will take action from day one. It's adjusted to clients' needs, so it can be depending on what the client needs. It can be only online, it can have private coaching, it can be a custom built program, and it's bilingual, fully bilingual, English and Spanish. So that's what makes it unique. And I have other ideas about using technology in the future that's in my pipeline to continue to create these barriers to entry. So once you have that, so this is me now in the middle of the pandemic with the Abundancia Consciente idea, saying, I would love to launch into this idea into this market. I would love to have some content that I can share with my target audience to prove this behavioral change system, to see if they take the immediate micro steps, how that works, and to see if they prefer English or Spanish. So this is the next step, to develop a minimum viable product. So the minimum viable product is the version of your product or service that allows you to collect the maximum amount of validated learning with the least effort. And this is key. So what you want to collect here is information without spending too much money. So having an idea is not a minimum viable product. You have to evolve the idea in a way that people can interact with it, but not to the point that you have to invest fully in a website, you know, in your social media platforms and everything else, or in a product. And that's when you test it. You have your minimum viable product and it's time to test it. In your test, you're going to map out all possible hypotheses. In my particular situation, it was, what type of content can I bring to this community to have them embrace the information and self-empower to take action, to have them understand their beliefs, to have them work with their relationships. I had like 7 different modules, and what I did was I did free Zoom classes, 7 of them in a row, and I presented different content. And what I did there is I paid attention to their reaction. I was looking into their body language, their interaction in the chat, any questions they had, so that I could pivot my product. So you need to really look how they, if you have a physical product, what they touch first in the product, where their eyes are going, where they spend more time. All those little details make a huge difference. How much time they spend with your product, how engaged they are. And if you have a service, look how they interact with the service, how fast they embrace it, any changes they're making in their lives, any testimonials they can, any information they can bring to you. And finally, the point of testing is to capture feedback and testimonials. So listen to them, get that information, and importantly, that many business owners miss, capture testimonials. So by the time I had done my minimum viable product, I already had 40 testimonials to use in my website. So imagine the power of that. And then the launch to market. This launch to market can take another hour, so I will only share with you 3 bullet points. What is the right pricing? Pricing is an art. All I want to say is there is never a right pricing that is a one size fits all, but a word of caution when you set your pricing is most of our population, particularly the women and minorities, I'm talking about segments, most women and minorities tend to underprice, tend to charge a price that is at least 30 to 40% lower than the market price. Why is that? Because we associate our own personal value with the pricing that we are charging. We link our own self-worth to people buying or not buying our product. So this is an exercise that I do with myself before I send out a proposal, and it is, what would a white man charge for this? That's the exercise that I do with myself. And I figure white men are setting the standards for the market values, the market pricing. So that's your standard to go after. If you look into the pricing of another women or minority-owned business, chances are they may be too low. So that's a word of caution there. But pricing is a whole different topic. Then figure out what structures and resources you need. And by this, I mean, particularly, have an idea of the website that you need to create, the social media structure that you need, how often you're going to be posting in social media, what marketing plan do you need, what people do you need to help you. And the third point related to this is partnerships. You're going to need partners. All of us need partners. Being an entrepreneur is very isolating, lonely sometimes. So we need partners to bounce ideas back and forth. I have partners to launch that created my website, that programmed this 6-week online module into my website. They programmed that in there. I have partners that are helping me with my marketing, even though I have worked in marketing for more than 20 years. And with major global companies, they are helping me with my marketing, with my buyer persona, with social media platforms. We all need to have those partnerships. And I prefer to work with other women and minority business owners. I feel we speak the same language. Okay, so we covered a lot, Liz. So perhaps we open to questions, or if you have any other questions that you want to ask.
Yeah, so there were some questions in the chat that I wanted to surface for you.
Okay.
Trying to get there. So we had somebody ask about, could you explain how you met the group of people that you featured in your beginning picture, and
Yes.
how did you kind of convert people to be paying clients? So this person is interested in kind of helping people who may not be able to afford to pay, particularly college students and first generation people in the Hispanic market. So talk a little bit about that, how you kind of can convert those people into paying clients.
Excellent. So
maybe they don't have the resources to do so.
Excellent. Thank you. So how I met the people in the picture is because I have been for more than 3 years the director for entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial programs for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey. So that was a different thing to me. I used to do consulting for companies. That was my business. And this was the first time that I put a big scale program together 4 years ago for entrepreneurs. And that's how I met those 400 entrepreneurs that I've been working with in the last 4 years. It came from an attitude of service. When the chamber approached me to ask, is this something you can do? I said, I will do it because I love my community. I want to help the Hispanic community. I want to bring my talents into a community, and that's why I met them. But I had never, ever thought, oh, I want to go there so that this is my market test so that I can come up with a business idea. No, it was really no agenda. The only agenda was how can I help people to grow their businesses, really genuinely. How can I use my talents, my knowledge, my network to help them? So that's how that happened. In terms of people who cannot pay, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So what I personally do is I have a platform that has free content. So I have a blog with really good content that is available for free. I also do free workshops here and there. And then I have the paying clients. The conversion happens because people will know you and like you and trust you. Know, like, and trust. People who will buy from you are people who know, like, and trust you. So you need to build a relationship before selling to them. I have not had the experience of posting in social media and a random person will buy. No, that was not my experience. My experience was that, yes, I met people through social media, but I had at least 2 one-hour Zoom calls with them to understand their needs before selling something to them. And if they cannot pay, what I do is I invite them to the free workshops and to sign up for the free blog. So they still get value from that. And over time, when they may have budget, that may become a pipeline for you. Now, something to think about pivoting is that with COVID, I even had to pivot my own business. If you look into the Hispanic business owners, that pipeline a little bit started to dry up because they do not have the budgets that they had a year ago. That's a reality. So my business naturally pivoted because now given that I'm into diversity and inclusion from the bottom up, as I explained, this can be adjusted to corporations and other organizations that now are allocating more of their budgets for this type of service, for this type of training for their people. So think about, if you need to pivot, think about what I offer may now be relevant to a different audience. So be open to that. Figure out, do not get stuck in one market segment. Yes, we talked about being specific, that's important. But when there is a huge change in the market like this, pivoting could mean my skills, my talents, and my service may fit the needs of another group that I'm not looking into. Or you may also find that the group of, and then you may have to adjust your offering to continue being, relevant for them.
So another question we're getting too is, how did you learn about creating a platform online? Were there classes that you took, or did you see a type of resource that really sparked your imagination of like, oh, I can do that? So tell us a little bit about how you got to create this platform online.
So it was curiosity. It was having the courage to embrace technology, even though I had no idea how to put it together, honestly, that I have never done something like that. And it was about asking questions. The partners that I mentioned before, it was going to the people who had the knowledge and asking them questions. So yes, I took some classes because as the director of the entrepreneurship program that I was running for the Hispanic Chamber, I brought different instructors, which they were bringing relevant content and helping these businesses pivot due to COVID. So I sat in those classes as well, because not all of us know, none of us know everything. We're in continuous learning. So I sat in those classes, I took maximum advantage of that, and that sparked some ideas. And then I took the time to speak to people who are experts and to really sit down with them and look into the problem in more detail.
Great. And then one last question we had, I guess it's kind of a three-parter. So are your clients individuals? Are they businesses? Are they both? And how are you finding that you're getting most of your clients?
So my clients originally were businesses who hired me to train the owner and the staff to make these behavioral changes, to have people be empowered, to have people be more productive with their times, to be more engaged at work. So business owners with a small staff has been my major source of revenue. With COVID and the impact that had on the market, it started to shift towards organizations and corporations, not only serving them, bringing educational programs live, most of them live, for a group, particularly Hispanic ERGs or Hispanic employees, but also working with one-on-one coaching with the high performers. So that has been the shift. That if you ask me in February, I was saying, my business is about bringing this online platform to business owner that can also be paired up with individual coaching that I do live. But the changes in the market took me to be, where's the opportunity? As I said in the beginning, always look into the opportunity, not the risk so much, not what you're leaving behind, but the opportunity that is in front of you, and be flexible. So the opportunity now, the budget is in the larger organizations.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the questions, everybody. And thank you for taking us through your case study. I'm sure that was really helpful for people to see how it works, how the system works firsthand. So thank you. Before we let you go, I just wanted to touch on a couple things, because you said, and I wrote it down, talking about service, right? Because I think a lot for entrepreneurs, and specifically I've talked to some female entrepreneurs, how a lot of great business ideas come out of service to the community. And so you said, thinking about how do I leave the community better than how I found it? And I think that really that sense of service and giving back is core to who you are as an entrepreneur. Just to talk about some of your service, you're on the board of Latina Surge. You're also heavily involved in the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. You helped them relaunch the successful Hispanic Entrepreneurship Training Program, and you also created the Latina Entrepreneurship Training Series. So you're doing so much. So, tell us about a little bit more about how that service factors into your life as an entrepreneur, and also how do you find the time? Because people make a lot of excuses and you're able to do it. So how do you do it? It's amazing.
So the service part, I think I'm just very grateful for the opportunities I had. As I said, I was born in a very small town and the cows were walking down the road, okay? And from there to obtaining an MBA at Dartmouth in a foreign country where I had to learn a new language, there was a long path. And I didn't do it by myself. Many doors opened, a lot of people helped me, right? I didn't have the guidance in my family. I had the emotional support in my family. The financial support came from me and others through some scholarships as well that I got here in the US mostly. But then the support that I got from so many people that opened doors for me, that's my reality. Like people helped me, like people just opened the door. I went through the door and I will always, always remember those that helped me. And just a side note, Liz, this week I contacted somebody who helped me 20 years ago and I thank her for that. And we had a Zoom call 20 years later after she helped me with an interview that I had in New York back in 20 years ago when I just came after my MBA. So it's about being grateful for all the blessings you receive. And it's a balance of giving and receiving. I feel that, and I have the experience that if you give through this hole of this size, you will receive through the same hole. If your hole is bigger and you give more, you receive more. That's my experience. So the tunnel through which the giving and receiving happens is one size. You decide the size of the tunnel through your giving. That's my experience. And the second question was, what do I do with it all? I have a husband, 2 kids in middle school, a dog, a cat, and a guinea pig. So, and I also do martial arts, I work out, and I do snowboarding. I have my own business, and I do a lot of volunteer work with Latina Search, and I served at the chamber. So I'm extremely focused with my time. When I moved to Buenos Aires to study and I had to work full time, I learned that I had to be 100% intentional about my time. Thank goodness we had no screen time at that point. Mm-hmm. I'm aging myself a little bit, but that helped, I have to say, but it was super intentional. I knew I was working full time, so I had 1 hour to study or half an hour. And that was my precious half an hour of 100% focus into what had to be done. Today, I struggle with so many distractions and the texts and the emails, but I'm still intentional. I put my phone aside. I have my buckets in my mind of where the time will go in the day: working, family, kids, husband, friends, time for working out, and I allocate time every day. I press the reset button and I allocate time to all those areas. And I'm very conscious of keeping everything balanced because back in 2016, I worked 24/7 and I had a burnout. So I learned the lesson. So be super intentional with your time. You have the power to put your distractions aside, even if it's for half an hour or 1 hour, and dedicate yourself to what needs to be done. That's the only way for me.
Thank you so much. I love that, being intentional with your time and really prioritizing your time toward what matters. Because again, with all these screens and these distractions, especially now with the pandemic, it's just so easy to get distracted. So yes, that's amazing advice. Before you go, one more thing I wanted to talk about is funding, because I think that that's a really important part to talk about with especially female entrepreneurs, and creating that conversation and that community around money and funding and talking about it. So tell us a little bit about your funding journey. Was your business self-funded from the beginning? Did you have angel investors? Did you seek out venture capital? What was it like for you raising capital for your business?
So I've been self-funded, which was also the discipline of saving. I started to work full-time when I was 18. A lot of the money went through education, but then I had the discipline. Once I paid the huge loans that I had after my MBA, I had the discipline to save and to not overspend, be super careful with credit cards and so on. So that discipline allowed me to have a cushion of money that I could use for my business. But even if you don't have that, there is hope, because first of all, no one will lend you unless you have some money or show some responsibility in how you handle your money. And that includes your tax returns, that your business has a separate bank account with a separate credit card. So you have to have these best practices in how you handle money before you can demonstrate that you're, that they can trust you and they will give you the money. So angel investors and venture capitalists is not a path that I followed, but if you are looking into that, definitely touch base with people who went through that, surround yourself with experts, because they have a very particular information that they they will be looking into certain pillars in your business and asking for particular information. In my personal case, what really worked for me, in addition to self-funding, is creating partnerships. So when money was not available so much, what I did is an exchange of services. And the same company that has been helping me with building my website and creating this programming of the platform that is online, I help them with the strategy. I partner with them and providing them services. So they gave me super huge discounts. The same thing with the company that helped me with the marketing. So not everything is money. So see how you can be creative with your talents and give that, to other people as an exchange of services.
That's great. And I think, again, it's really important to be talking about that financial responsibility. And then also, as you touched on, kind of getting creative to work around it if the money isn't there, right? So we're about out of time. And so again, I encourage people to keep adding in your questions into the chat if you have them. But before you go, want to see if you could share some advice with our aspiring entrepreneurs around your do's and don'ts, right? So if you could go back in time, what would you do again the same? And what would you completely avoid the second time around?
Okay, so definitely what I would do if I had to go back in time is enjoy the journey. It's a lot of pressure when you're not sure what you're doing because you have no guidance, or things are new to you, or you feel uncomfortable. Is pressure, is inner, being uncomfortable is like not easy sometimes. So what I tell myself every day is not about get to a goal, is the journey. So enjoying the process of learning, of growing, that's number one. Number two, important, super important, to keep going, celebrating your victories. Mm-hmm. Even the little victories deserve to be celebrated and gives you the fuel that you need to recharge and keep going. And that's super important for business owners. And the third one that I would say is do not sacrifice. You do not need to burn out. No one needs you burned out. So as a business owner, there is a tendency to put all your effort into the business because it's like your baby and you want to succeed, right? So trust others, delegate your weaknesses, understand yourself, delegate your weaknesses, only focus on what you can do as a strength, what's your passion, and be sure to take time off, to breathe, to relax, to move your body, work out, whatever you need to replenish yourself, because today is very easy to go down the burnout road with everything that is going on and the additional responsibilities we have. So you need to be super mindful at each step of the way of where your time goes and make sure you take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others.
Amazing guidance. Thank you so much. Lastly, before we go, just tell us, how can we find you? What are your digital and social channels?
Excellent. I will share that on the screen really quickly and people can take a picture. So you can also find me in LinkedIn, but I'm in Instagram and Facebook, Abundancia Consciente USA. The website that is bilingual with a bilingual blog, abundanciaconsciente.net and consciousabundance.net, and my email. Okay. Thank you so much.
Make sure everybody to take a screenshot so that you can stay connected. And thank you so much, Valeria Aloe, founder of Conscious Abundance. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and share your words of wisdom. And we also really look forward to having you as our virtual mentor starting this fall. So thank you for sharing all of this with us, and we wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And for my beloved Hispanic community, particularly first and second generation, I just want to say that we have an amazing opportunity in front of us today. The doors are going to be opening, and for women and minorities as a whole, right? The doors are going to be opening for us in the next years. So this This is our opportunity to embrace the success that we have been dreaming about. So this is our chance, and it's also a responsibility. We're going to be a significant number, a significant percentage of this country in a few years. So that gives us the responsibility to be super empowered and to serve and do our best for the community that has been supporting us and opening the doors for us to go through. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Liz.
Take care.
Thank you.